Shalom, family. This is Yuda. Such a day as this. You know, one of our biggest mistakes when we read Scripture is we fail to realize all the injected interpretations, such as the Christians. They tend to take Scripture and rewrite it under their own interpretation to bring their meaning to that particular Scripture. And that's a big problem. Because when our people read these Scriptures, most of them don't consider what they've done. But I'm catching all of this. And today I hope to show you how to catch it also. Such a day as this. Enoch, chapter 104. Listen up. In those days, saith the Creator, they shall call the children of the earth and make them listen to their wisdom. Show them that you are their leaders, and that remuneration shall take place over the whole world. Now, y'all have heard all this talk about reparations. Many don't believe that it's going to happen. I used to be one that didn't believe that it would happen. I just completely misunderstood it. But let me show you what that word remuneration means. Remuneration, money paid for work or a service. That's reparations. This is from the Scripture. It has been prophesied to happen. So believe it or not, we're going to get reparations. It started out $350,000 per person for all the descendants of slaves. But it went from 350,000 to 151 million per person. Now listen, I'm going to say this. I don't know who will receive this, but just hear me out. When that happens, don't be the person to go out and spend foolishly giving all that money back to your slave masters. You should really think about how you spend. And foremost, don't spend in that country. That money is supposed to be the same instance that happened when the children of Israel left Egypt. They didn't hang around and spend money in Egypt, they left. And this is what I'm advising for anybody that receives their reparations. Leave, don't spend one dime there in that country. Go to Africa. That is not where we will be permanently. That's just a gathering place. Where we will end up will be back at the Levant. We will cross the Jordan one more time and enter into our new kingdom. Okay, let's go back. And that remuneration, that reparation, shall take place over the entire world. For I and my son will forever hold communion with them in the paths of uprightness, while they are still alive. Now, a lot of people get tripped up on this verse, I and my son. I will explain who the son is. I and my son will forever hold communion with them in the paths of uprightness, while they are still alive. Peace shall be yours. Rejoice, children of integrity. Who is he talking to? The children or the nation of Israel in truth. Now let's look at Exodus chapter 4 and verse 22. And thou shalt say to Pharaoh, thus saith the Creator, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. So now when you read this, I and my son, now you know who the son is. He made it clear, people. He made it clear. I will declare the decree. This is David speaking in Psalms chapter 2, verse 7. I will declare the decree. The Creator hath said unto me, listen close, thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. So who is the begotten son? This is scripture, y'all. This is not my words. This came out of the book. This is the begotten son, David. David is the begotten son. Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 9. But they shall serve the Creator, their father, and David, their king, whom I will raise up unto them. Who is them? Israel. It's Israel. Yes, in the Bible, Israel is considered a branch of the kingdom of the Creator. The Creator chose Israel to be a holy nation and a priestly kingdom, and to be a light to the nations. Why am I talking about the branch? Because the Christians use any scripture that relates to the branch, which is in Ezekiel chapter 37 and I believe verse 24. They use that branch to interpret that this is talking about Jesus. But you just heard and saw with your own eyes, this is about David and the Israelites. So in the Bible, Israel is considered a branch of the kingdom of the Creator. The Creator chose Israel to be a holy nation and a priestly kingdom, and to be a light unto the nations. Ezekiel chapter 37 and verse 24. My servant David will be king over them, and they will all have one shepherd. They will follow my laws and be careful to keep my decrees. One king. You see it. He says his servant David, he will be one king over them, over Israel, the entire nation. Jeremiah 33 and verse 16. This is the way this scripture is supposed to read. I'm going to show you right after this, the Christians' interpretation. This is how they get us. They go into the book. Let me remind you, when they took our book, they rewrote, reinserted their own interpretations, changing the wording in order to confuse you and cause you to believe something that wasn't. So listen to Jeremiah 33 and 16. In those days and at that season, I shall cause David to shine forth, the brilliant shoot of righteousness. Remember, David is the root, the shoot of Jesse. The brilliant shoot of righteousness, and he shall reign in the kingdom. Where? In the kingdom. And he shall understand, and he shall execute judgment and righteousness in the earth. Now, so far, we've only seen one prophecy relating to one person. It's David. Now, this is the Christian's interpretation of Jeremiah 33:16. In those days and at that time will I cause the branch of righteousness to grow up unto David, and he shall execute judgment and righteousness in the land. Now, do you see the change here? Take a good close look and carefully break this down in your spirit. The way they wrote this made it sound like there's going to be some other person. According to the Christians, this will be Jesus, who will branch out of David and do the executing of judgment and righteousness in the land. That means, if that was true, that means there will be two kings sitting on one throne. Now, we use our common sense. We know that's not possible. That's not possible. So let's take a look at a king sitting on his throne. Okay, I must have pardon me right here. This is the king sitting on his throne. Do you see any room for another body to fit into that throne with that king? There is nowhere in Scripture, nowhere in history, ever has two kings shared a throne. Let's just be real. It's just not possible. Y'all get a good look at this throne. There is no room for two, only one. The throne was designed for one person, no two. Now let's look at 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 12 to 13. This will help you understand some of Ezekiel chapter 37 and verse 24. And when your days are fulfilled, he's talking about David, he's talking to David. This is just before David passed away or went to sleep. And when your days, all right, and when your days are fulfilled, and you rest with your fathers. I will raise up your descendant after you, who came to the throne after David went to sleep. Solomon. This prophecy already came to pass, but the Christians have tried to bump it up to the last days. I will raise up your descendant, Solomon, after you, who will come from your own body. Jesus did not come from David's body. Solomon did. And I will establish his kingdom, and he did. He will build a house for my name, and he did. And I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. That was Solomon. Now I want to share a comment that this person, Auxilius01, left. Now if you ever wondered what happens when you piss the demons off, check this out. Auxilius01 said, keep your preaching to yourself. Others don't believe what you believe. Stop bothering others. That's a pissed off demon. That tells me I must be doing something right. I get these all the time, y'all. Remember the other day when I talked about Michael Green, 9162, who said that he had proof that Saturday was the seventh day? He's another one. I made him an offer. I responded to him and I told him, if you show me Saturday in the book, in the scriptures, not the New Testament, but in the original book, or so to speak, then I will change my whole perception. He responded back telling me that he's going to stand on what he said, and I should be careful because I have followers. These are his words. He said that I should be careful because I am not willing to accept correction for my errors. But listen. When I talk about any scripture in the Torah, I always, and I always have, produced scripture to back up my claim. And this is what I ask him to do. Back up your claim. He jumped from the first remark to calling me an error. But I brought scripture. He hasn't brought scripture yet. And he can't because it's not there. But these are signs of, I don't know, irritating the demons. You gotta love it. Because to me, when stuff like this happens, it confirms I'm walking the straight and narrow. I'm human, I make mistakes, but I'm walking that path. So this video was not to be drawn all out and made long and all that stuff. I just wanted y'all to really understand, when you read scripture, you have to understand how the Creator thinks and how the Creator speaks. Once you do that, you can tell when he's speaking or when somebody else is speaking. Like I showed you in Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 16. I showed you the Christian version, which is a blatant, misconstrued lie. And then I showed you the original version, which they figured we would not pay attention to. And most people, when they read this, they do get confused. When they read Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 16, they don't think about the possibility that it has been reworded. And that's what happened here. And this is not the only one. There's a whole bunch of scripture that if you're not careful when you read it, and if you don't really understand how our Creator speaks and where he speaks and how he thinks, which is all a part of getting to know him, this kind of stuff will trip you. It will trip you. This scripture here in Jeremiah 33 and 16, this interpretation, it makes perfect sense. Because if you go by this one, you're going to have to set two kings on one throne. That's just not possible. So if that's not possible, then this cannot be correct. Shalom.